What's up my loves, my name is Paige, this is Pages with Paige, and today we're going over my stats for 2021. Maybe go get a cup of tea or a drink of your choice, or maybe some popcorn. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I want to talk through some of the highlight statistics of 2021. I'm going to go through the Goodreads year in books review as well as some from my own tracker. I have just a really blanket statistic tracking. I've basically culled down Ali from Hardback Hoarders list and just track a few bits and bobs that I'm curious about. So let's dive into the stats. In terms of books read, I read 172 books, which I'm super happy with. It was 8 less than last year, but I read some amazing reads. According to Goodreads, I read 55,975 pages, whereas according to my tracker, I read 56,273. So Goodreads isn't always right because they are different editions to what I do end up reading, and my tracker is also not right because I don't include acknowledgements or till the very end of the book. I just include the main story, and that's what I mark it as. I listened to 400 hours. That's nearly 17 days of listening to audiobooks straight. That is insane. Like, holy shit, holy fuck. Blown away. Books I acquired were 151. I have since unhauled 3 of those, unhauled them within 2021. I realized that I accepted them when I probably should have just said, no, I'm okay. I've read 49 of them, which means 99 of those are unread. Into Goodreads year in review. The shortest book according to Goodreads was Curse of the Robot Vampire by Graham Base, which was 32 pages. In technicality, it was A Softness of Heart by Lulu Kadhim, which was 12 pages, but it doesn't have the pages on it for it to be counted in the shortest. In longest, I read It by Stephen King, which was 1,166 pages, and I'm fucking proud of myself. Average length was 325 pages per book, again taking in that margin of error, even though it was 339 the year before. So I read a lot more smaller things this year and counted. Last year I would have read a lot of picture books and things like that, whereas I didn't include them because I wasn't reading them during Believeathon, whereas this year I did because it was hitting goals of Believeathon. The most popular book that I shelved was Northern Lights by Philip Pullman, and the least popular was again A Softness of Heart by Lulu Kadhim. My average rating according to Goodreads was a 4.3, whereas my own tracker has it as a 4.25, which is a more accurate rating because I can do half stars. And the highest rated on Goodreads was Frostheart 3, Rise of the World Eater, which is a 4.71 stars on Goodreads and just bloody brilliant, so it deserves to be here. The highest number of books read was 32 in November, with my lowest being 7 in April. But in terms of pages, this is where the 32 were picture books and short things. So my highest number of pages, which was 9,036, which is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing that that happened. I read 16% of my page count in 1 month. But my lowest was actually December with 2,575. So whilst I technically read 2 more things and I read 9 in December and only 7 in April, I read bigger things in April which took longer and increased the page total, whereas December I was reading just lots of short things because I couldn't focus on anything. In terms of ratings, I gave 1 1 star, 1 1.5, 1 2.5, 8 3 stars, 17 3.5 stars, 64 stars, 33 4.5, and 51 5-star reads. So I still had an excellent reading year and had a lot of fun with the things that I was picking up. In terms of genre, obviously I am quite a predominantly fantasy reader, with reading 78 fantasy books, which totaled to about 45.3% of my reading. Then I had contemporary with 30 books and then non-fiction with 11. So I was super surprised that I read 11 non-fictions. That just, yes! I almost read 1 a month. Proud of that one. Classics. I read 9 classics? Who am I? What the fuck? Existential crisis incoming. 8 sci-fi, 7 poetry, 5 romance. I want to figure out a better way of tracking my genres. At the moment I don't feel like it's quite as reflective of my reading as it actually is. 3 horror, 2 magical realism, 2 mystery, 2 thrillers, 2 other. I can't actually remember what they were. 1 anthology and 1 erotica. In terms of the format in which I read, my most commonly read format, which I know and absolutely love, was my physical and audiobook combination, making up 54.7% of my reading and 94 books. I then had 49 just physical books with no audiobooks, 15 ebooks, 9 ebook and audiobook combinations, and just 5 audiobooks by themselves. That's going to be higher this year because I have started listening to most of the animals via Audible rather than using the ebook alongside it. Speaking of listening via, I have 5 main ways. Audible and Scribd were pretty much neck and neck, with Audible being 39 books and Scribd being 37. BorrowBox was 17 and Libby was 13, and other being 3, and I think that might have been like listening to it via YouTube. With that, Libby is definitely going to be on the higher up, and also inclusive of Hoopla for this coming year. I have gotten access to it, so I'm super excited to see the shift in that. Where I sourced my books from, 87 of them were owned, which would be great if I stopped hauling. I had 151 that I acquired and I only read 87 from my own shelves. This is also including gifted, which I've done separately for the first half of the year, so there's 18 there as well, so take of that what you will. The library I read 34 books from. NetGalley and Scribd were both 10 books, and then a few other little scatterings. In terms of the audience, I read 1 children's book. I can't even remember what one. I couldn't class it as middle grade or YA, so I just put it as children's, which is what I should put the animals, but I've put them as middle grade, so expect this to be very skewed next year. 13 new adult, fair enough. It's not a predominantly vocalized genre. 38 middle grade. 57 adult and 63 YA. So I'm still a fantasy YA reader. I don't know how I thought this was going to go this year. I'm happy to see that it's pretty nice in terms of YA adult, but yeah, it definitely surprised me a little bit with just the way that it was formatted. In terms of series, I read 1 that was a companion novel, 80 standalones, and 91 books that were parts of series, but that can also include the first book in the series. Very curious to see. I might track this as a first book in the series and then continuation of a series for next year, just to see the balance that that takes up. Talking on publication year, I read 35 books that came out in 2021, 29 books that came out in 2020, and 17 books that came out in 2019. So with those 3 years alone, it takes up 47% of my reading is from current year and back too. So I'm curious to see if I will continue to go for the 2019, because that was when I really actively started getting into new releases, seeing what was out and going and accruing my collection fresh. So I still have a lot of those on my shelves. We'll see how it goes. And then my final stat was a really evenly split, and I was very surprised by it. So technically a new author will only be counted once, and then anything I read after them is read before. But I still had 87 read before and 85 new to me. So picked up a lot of new authors, but I also read a lot that were on the back burner and had read from them before. So very curious. I have no idea how the fuck this is going to play out next year. So I think that's all of the stats that I have to go over for 2021. Turns out this wasn't as long as I thought, which was kind of good because this is going to take a lot to edit all these different graphs in, so love that for me. Let me know in the comments, do you track your reading and what is something that you absolutely adore tracking? If you do, I can see that there's a little bit of tweaking that I need to make to the spreadsheet just to make it feel a little bit more authentically me and reflect my reading taste. I'm also horrendous at editing spreadsheets and making it the way that I want it to be. But yeah, let me know in the comments anything that you are interested in seeing or would like to see reflected in my stats. If you like this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of this mess, feel free to subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Bye!